Hello, Bible readers. Psalm 29 is something new for us as we make our way through what scholars call the first book of the Psalms. We've seen other Psalms serve as hymns of praise, like this one does. Psalm 29 has the three parts that are usually present for a psalm like this: a call to praise, the reason for praising God, and number three is more praising and what that means for the world and God's people in it. But what's different about this psalm is its obvious connections to Canaanite religion. And it's not that you have to study ancient Near East religions in order to get it. You may or may not be familiar with Baal or Baal, however you want to pronounce Baal. The people of Israel, like every other people, are sometimes pulled away from God, tempted away from God toward other religious practices, other gods. I mean, in 21st century North America, where we celebrate the freedom of religion, we know all about being pulled toward all kinds of other possibilities, right? The worship of nature, for one, as though it is not only possible to commune with God in God's creation, but that perhaps God is creation. So worship the trees or the sun or animals or rocks or storms, whatever. There is an important difference between worshiping God while I'm outside to worshiping that which is outside itself, right? Well, of course, there's lots of other possibilities to worship. You've got the worship of Satan or the worship of Hindu gods or Buddhism. The way some Christians use parts of Buddhism can be a way of worshiping the self. Maybe that's the hardest idol to not worship, is myself. So with that in mind, with that context of humans always being pulled toward other gods, how can a psalm maybe speak to these temptations to cheat on the one true God? Because cheating on is kind of the Hebrew concept. The prophet Hosea. Someday I'll do a deep dive on Hosea, and that's all about almost like using the metaphor of marriage, really, that the people of Israel are cheating on God. So how can a psalm speak to all that? Well, that's what Psalm 29 is for. It uses Canaanite religious language and religious concepts to worship and give thanks for the Hebrew God. It's very clever. It's like using Canaanite language against Canaanite religion. Why do we think that, you might wonder? Well, the big tip-off is this ongoing use of the thunderstorm metaphor throughout the whole psalm. Thunder, lightning, damage to trees, the earth shaking. These are the experiences of a thunderstorm, obviously. And for Jews, a thunderstorm would represent the powers of chaos. For Canaanites, it was said that the voice of Baal could be heard in the thunder of storms. And so basically what Psalm 29 is doing is using that idea that Baal speaks through thunder, but the psalmist is like, yeah, actually, when you hear the thunder, know that it is God who's using thunder and lightning and all the other parts of a storm to be powerful as creator of all these things, a greater power than any other created thing. Poetically, Psalm 29 builds and builds and builds by repeating and repeating and repeating. The voice of the Lord does this. The voice of the Lord does that, until finally in verse 9, the worshiper's response to God's presence is simply glory. The other unique device that Psalm 29 uses is the idea that there is an echo from heaven to earth. It starts by addressing heavenly beings, right? That first verse is addressed to heavenly beings. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength, etc., etc. And so the psalm is for them, heavenly beings, to sing. But then by verse 9, their ascribing is brought to all in his temple who say glory, right? So it's gone from heavenly beings ascribing things to God, to all of a sudden all in his temple, which would be on earth, are saying glory. It's a vibrant and maybe an exciting idea, actually, to imagine that we on earth could be echoing songs of praise that are being sung in the heavenly places, that we would be a part of a timeless song, singing out against the idols of this world who pretend to have power, who pretend to have an ability to last, who pretend to have a willingness to love back when they don't, because they can't, because they're not true. Psalm 29 uses the language of their culture's present, the religious challengers of their moment then, to speak for every moment, that only one deserves to hear us say, maybe shout, glory. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.